please welcome to the stage Captain Saif Al-Mheiri, the CEO of Abu Dhabi Maritime and Chief Sustainability Officer at Abu Dhabi Ports Group, Peter Marvin, Chief Technical and Resource Pool Officer at NMDC Logistics and Technical Services, Frank Clary, the Vice President of Sustainability at Agility Global, and of course your moderator, Lenah Hassaballah, editor at CNN Business Arabic.
Hello, thank you everyone very much for being here, and it's my pleasure to be back at one of the Forbes summits once again. So again, what we are going to be speaking about during this panel is rethinking trade for a greener future. Now, let's start with the hard truth, right? Global trade, the very engine that powers our economies, is the same engine that fuels the planet's fever. Today, international trade accounts for 30% of transport CO2 emissions, and this is projected to increase fourfold in 2025, with shipping alone emitting over 1 billion tons of greenhouse gases every year. So every container that crosses an ocean carries not just goods, but also a carbon cost. And as we talk about growth and collaboration and sustainability, we must also confront this uncomfortable truth. Can we keep trading without trading away our planet? This is the question that we're going to be posing to our wonderful panelists here, and I think you will all agree that yes, we can keep trading and we can do it sustainably. And what we're going to discuss is the ways that we can be sustainable while trading. And trading, we can all agree, is the heart and core of us as human beings and our livelihoods. So I wanted to start with you, Captain Saif, and I wanted to ask you, from your perspective, what are the most impactful steps that the maritime sector specifically can take to accelerate its transition towards a low-carbon future?
The maritime sector, especially shipping, are the hardest to abate to decarbonization.
Okay.
Because of its nature, the size of the vessels, their routes. It's one of the hardest modes to decarbonize, maybe along with the aviation. Therefore, there were a number of challenges to set the net zero target in 2050. So initially, there was talks about 2070, hoping for the last 20 years, technologies, stuff in R&D right now, that they will get a momentum by then. A couple of years ago, IMO did confirm, which is the International Maritime Organization, did confirm net zero to 2050, but with adjusted milestones.
Okay.
So instead of doing a lot of milestones up to 2030, they are adjusting that to be only 20% reduction from the baseline. And from the 2040, that's where 70% expected. And then net zero by 2050. So the International Maritime Organization, based on that net zero strategy, they already had their Environment Committee approval for the net zero framework,
okay.
which is, by the way, it will go for voting this week.
Are you positive about the results of the voting?
I hope, yeah, because the framework will make the transition more lucrative and to make the current conventional fuels are more harder. So what are the shipping industry's decarbonization initiatives? Basically in 4 areas, which is starting with efficiency, to be more efficient at what you are doing, and then electrification, which is basically electrification, your operations, the equipment you are using, even vessels. So we have 2 tugboats who are fully electrified.
Wow, okay.
Run on electricity. And then we have alternative fuel, which we are talking about low emission fuel like LNG, methanol, ammonia, biofuel. And then we have the last, which is alternative, which is renewable energy, basically solar panel, etc. In both of these, all of these areas, Port Group is working to accelerate in all of the areas, and we have lots of examples in all of them.
So a lot of interesting initiatives, and I think the bottom line is looking for a variety of energy sources that are more sustainable and planet-friendly, let's say. Exactly. Frank, moving on to you, you're representing Agility Global. Of course, it is a multi-business owner, operator, and investor in supply chain infrastructure and technologies. So my question to you is something that may be on top of mind for everyone watching today. And I'm going to ask, in your view, and this is about money, how expensive is it to implement sustainable initiatives in the supply chain industry?
That's a very, very good question, and the answer is it's as expensive as you want it to be.
Okay.
Now, we prefer in our businesses for our customers to try to conserve their costs, and we try to correlate what we do in our industries and with our investments and the companies which we're operating with efficiencies. So when we look at, for example, our Agility Logistics Parks, we built to suit. We try to make sure that our warehouse complexes are zero emissions ready. So you can install cleaner energy production on top of their roofs. We can do solar and things of that nature if the cost makes sense to the customer. So we make it so we're scalable and able to do things for the future as well as now. We're also very, very pragmatic with some of the companies that we're operating and investing in, where we're leveraging in supply chain scheduling and optimization of resources that we currently have. So we have companies in which we've invested, the Shipa companies, the Frete in Brazil. These are companies where you're actually consolidating resources, where for trucks, you have multiple consignments and multiple customers shipping their stuff on the trucks to maximize utilization.
Yes.
So you can go all in and buy, heavy-duty electric vehicles if you want to do that. That would be very, very costly, but it may not be appropriate for your business. We tried to give our customers solutions that work for the here and now and will work for the future as well.
Ballpark, I'm going to pressure you on this one. A lot of the reason why people are not being sustainable, let's say, is everyone is saying that the broad headline is it's expensive. Do you agree with that broad headline?
Yes, it is. It can be expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We have to manage it like we manage every other aspect of our business.
Yeah.
So we think of it from a CapEx and an OpEx perspective. I come from a project management background. We've got a very, very good management team in the companies in which we've invested that we operate. We try to run things very, very leanly. We look at things like optimizing our schedules. So 90% of emissions in supply chain come from the widgets themselves, the production of the items that are in the supply chain. If you can better manage your schedule and better manage your inventory and reduce the amount of inventory you actually require so you don't lose inventory, you're not wasting inventory in the supply chain, that's a huge reduction in the environmental impact. Mm-hmm. This requires you to plan and talk with your logistics providers. We offer solutions, and our companies offer solutions like that to help people achieve benefits without really plowing a lot of money into it.
Interesting. Peter, moving on to you. Obviously, technology is a big part of everything that we do, and that includes being climate-friendly in the trading space. What role can advanced technologies and smarter resource management play in making global trade more efficient while also reducing its environmental impact?
Thank you, Lenah. It's absolutely essential in order to be able to achieve our shared sustainability goals. Captain Saif already touched on it this morning. Our industry, the maritime industry, which is what 80% of trade represents, is very, very difficult to decarbonize because of the high cost of assets and the life cycle of those assets. These assets last, in the maritime industry, 30, 40 years. And it's very, very difficult to adjust those to be cleaner. There are technologies that are being developed. There's also confusion about which is the right fuel for the future. Everyone's aligned around LNG being the right transition fuel, but what is the fuel for the future? Is it methanol? Is it LNG? Nobody really knows. So in order to be able to progress onto the goals that we've all shared and agreed, we have to find smarter ways of doing things.
Yeah.
In NMDC Group, we have implemented AI across our fleets, across our operations, to reduce carbon consumption, to improve efficiency. We've diversified and formed a subsidiary called LTS that, while it mainly serves the group, It allows our services to be offered to others, increasing utilization, reducing the overall burden of the carbon footprint, and reducing it for everybody. In addition, we've experimented with fuel catalysts.
Okay.
Okay, so things that make the fuel burn cleaner, more efficiently, and give better production. Because we have to do those things in order to be able to achieve the goals in the short term, while the industry figures out how to get to the long-term solutions and the goals of 2050 that the framework that the IMO are producing is there to produce.
And obviously technology is fast-tracking that R&D phase, looking for better fuel systems.
Absolutely, but it's more about doing what you're doing today more efficiently.
Yeah.
Finding ways to do more with less is the most sustainable way that we can do things in the short term with the less cost, without the heavy capex that goes with it.
Yeah. Captain Saif, moving on to you. As maritime commerce expands, safeguarding marine ecosystems becomes even more critical. How is AD Ports Group working to harmonize economic growth with marine habitat protection, and what role can innovation and partnerships do in achieving that balance?
I'm a strong believer that there is no conflict between growth and sustainability.
Okay.
I believe sustainability enables growth. That's very important. In AD Port Group, we have a number of great examples. I just came to know that Peter participated in building our flagship port, which is Khalifa Port.
Oh, interesting.
The design of Khalifa Port is to preserve environment.
Wow.
Because it built next to a marine protected area, which is called Granada Protected Area. And to protect that area, the design of Khalifa Port, which goes around 8 kilometers into the water, to protect that. And because of its design, today Khalifa Port is one of the most efficient container ports. It won the third most efficient container ports by World Bank in 2023.
Okay, very good.
And any, like for the last big project we have, which is the CMA terminal, we have done a great project of corals relocation. So that's very important to make sure that we are, if we have to build something and it will have some impact to the environment, we are working hard to make sure that it is protected. So this project was done with New York University, and we have done a relocation of these projects. Plus, we added some of other initiatives, which is basically one of the latest one called biohuts, which is like steel cages, and they are more of, you call them environmental solutions, where it has seashells in them, and they are like homes for smaller fish around, and we installed around 49 of them. Another environmental project, which is within our infrastructure, what we called an eco-sea wall. An eco-sea wall, which is like a 4-level wall with different structure made from environmentally friendly materials, and it is basically to enable growth of marine life in different levels, at the fully submerged deep level, at the shallow level, at the tidal area, and also at the splash area. And these are the projects that we are doing, and most of our projects basically have some environmental element in it, and we consider that as extreme importance.
Yeah, with partnerships, obviously, and using technologies as well.
Of course. Yeah. With new startups, new ideas, developers, we always do that.
And it's nice to hear that marine life and the coral reefs are part of those initiatives. I think that's very important.
Exactly.
Frank, agility obviously works across the supply chain industry. And this is an important question. Where do you think are the biggest emission hotspots, let's call them, that most people don't realize exist in trade? And what are some ways that industries and companies can reduce supply chain emissions?
So in the supply chain, about 90% of emissions, as I said, come from the production of the goods. So hotspots would be how can you manage the production of the goods you're actually selling and reduce those inputs. When it comes to transportation and distribution, which is that other 9 or 10%, some of the things you can do are engaging with your logistics service providers and making sure that you're working with companies. We're an investor in a company called DSV. They have a very, very good program to give customers green solutions. Our Shippa companies give customers green solutions. And the other thing we do is we're investing in technologies that are related to supply chain. So like Loop Global does electric vehicle recharging. So even as we transition to, like right now, we're in first stage battery electric vehicles. We're assuming that in the future there's going to be better electric vehicles. Loop Global will still be able to serve those vehicles. We're invested in a company called Hyliion that uses a linear generator to produce electricity. That can use the fuels that are existing on the market now that can use fuels for future fuels if they have to burn ammonia or other fuels like that in the future. So we're trying to think in advance in the future, but generally speaking, if you want to reduce your supply chain emissions, you should be looking at your input costs and input efficiencies if you're producing stuff, and you should be partnering with organizations that are offering you quick, easy solutions to reduce supply chain emissions while things are in transit.
Very good advice, agreed. Peter, do you think sustainability can actually save money in the long run for heavy industries?
I think the answer is it absolutely has to.
Okay.
We've heard it through some of the presentations and speeches earlier this morning. Sustainability isn't just about the protection of our environment. Sustainability has to be looked at holistically. And we heard Engineer Yasser, we heard Dr. Amna, we heard Dr. Shekhar talk about these need to be viewed as opportunities. And there are opportunities there, and they need to be focused as such. Yes, there is cost associated with implementing sustainability initiatives, but businesses need to ensure that that is invested in wisely, focused in the right areas in order to be able to produce long-term sustainability for the business. If the businesses invest in ecological sustainability, but that's at the sacrifice of the business sustainability, that hurts everybody. And that reduces the available research and development capability, it reduces the investment capital, and therefore ultimately is a failing strategy.
Yeah.
So it has to generate cost opportunity and opportunity in order to be sustainable to produce the ecological sustainability that needs to be there.
Understood, makes sense. This is the final question for all the panelists, and I'm very interested to know your answers, starting with you, Captain Saif. If you had to make one rule that every company working in global trade had to abide by for the planet, what rule would that be?
One rule, I think it's keep all the effort toward awareness. Because the new generations, we have 8 billion people living in this world with us. And if everybody is aware about the importance of sustainability, I think we will be in a much, much better situation than right now, and things will be much brighter for the future.
Peter, one rule.
Open collaboration. It's impossible for a single entity to achieve the sustainability goals by itself. We need the regulators, we need the customers, we need the contractors, the service providers, all to collaborate to achieve that. Without open collaboration, it's impossible.
Frank, one rule?
Well, obviously, we would tell everyone you have to trade with agility. But in the
You have to trade with agility, guys.
In the absence of that rule, I would say that we would look to what our parents and our grandparents told us. And in the U.S., they told us things like, use it up, wear it out, make do or do without. Be efficient. There's nothing new about that. If we're all efficient, we can control our impact and we control our costs and continue to have sustainable businesses that operate 50 and 100 years from now.
Frank, Peter, Captain Saif, thank you so much for these insights, and thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.